Awesome. So my name's Kevin Berrier. I'm the marketing director of MDDC Ad Services. We're the advertising agency based out of the Maryland, Delaware, DC Press Association. And that's my little baby boy. So always like putting that in. A lot to go over today. So I'm going to jump right in. If anyone has any questions, please, by all means, put it in the chat and we'll get them answered for you. So I think I think if you take one thing away from this webinar today is, take this away. This is a great quote that kind of is my true north. You've probably heard and have seen this, a billion times, but when you live in the world of high volume sales to make a revenue goal in order to make a commission, it's easy to lean back on transactional selling versus really taking the time to understand your client's needs and how to ultimately solve problems for them. In fact, this quote, this is the quote that really rattles around in my mind, usually moments before I'm heading into a meeting with a prospect for the first time. Like I said, it's my true north. It's served me well so far. So I wanted to share that with you and with everyone as hopefully just a good reminder of really what to think about when you're approaching a new client for the first time. So digital advertising. So it's here. It's been here for a while. And really everyone's jumped on the bandwagon of offering digital advertising services. Radio's doing it, TV's doing it, print's doing it. It seems like everyone is offering it, and it's true. Competition is congested, and they're all fighting for the projected $92 billion sitting on the table to be spent in 2022. That's more than outdoor radio, TV, and print media combined, and it's a sobering number. But it's a number that shows opportunity. By 2025, digital spending is projected to reach $105 million, or excuse me, $105 billion, excuse me. But when you really think about it, digital advertising is a commodity. It's a place that any business can advertise in, and almost anyone can really sell and execute it. But where you'll set yourself apart is not in the products that you have available to sell, but becoming an advisor and being a subject matter expert in marketing strategy for your client. So I'm hoping these 5 tips I give to you today give some aha moments to you. And again, these are going to seem super obvious, but I guarantee you, these are some of the most commonly skipped or overlooked steps when I'm talking to our ad side members or our ad side sales reps when we're strategizing for a new prospect. These are the things that seem so obvious, and you're going to say, duh, I know this. But ask yourself, have you ever, and if so, how many times have you cut a corner? I've done it. I'm guilty of it. And I'll be the first to admit it. But, I've learned that sales can increase if we take the time to make sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's to really set ourselves up for success when we're going into a new prospect. So with that said, tip number 1, pre-meeting research can increase your chances of closing a sale. It's as simple as that. You're not the only one pitching digital advertising to your prospect. In fact, prospects that are deemed serious inquirers are meeting with multiple digital advertising providers, and you're only one option of many. But pre-meeting research is the foundation. It's literally the foundation of setting yourself up for success. First step, go to their website. Learn about the client, learn about who their target audience is. You'd be shocked that, how many times I've heard, I'm rushing into a meeting and I need to learn about who this client is on the spot. That is never a good idea. While you're on the site, head to the top of it or head to the bottom of it and review their social channels. A quick right click and open up in a new tab will pull all their social channels up. If you don't see any social icons on their website, go to, Facebook is a great first place to start. Search for that business on Facebook, see if they have a social channel. If so, and they're not promoting it on their website, well, there you go. That's a little tidbit that you can give to the prospect to further demonstrate that you're a subject matter expert in marketing. Try to get served Google advertising from them. Good way to do it, start by typing in their company name. See if they show up. Search for them as if a consumer would search for them. What would you search to find a business that falls within this prospects category? See if you're doing Google ads, or see if they're doing Google ads. If your company has, SEM Rush, for example, then more power to you. That makes it a lot easier. But we're lean and mean, and sometimes we're resource strained, and we have to go the manual route. But the manual route is tried and true. While you're doing that and you're searching, see what competitors are coming up. Research the prospect's competition and see what they're doing in marketing. Marketing is not recreating the wheel. Marketing is realizing that a wheel exists and to put that wheel on your prospect's car, for a lack of a better term. So look at what the competition's doing. If their competition is advertising on Google and your prospect is not, that's a flag, and that's something that you need to note down. And then also creep your prospect's LinkedIn page. The person that you're going to be speaking to, you need to know about them. When I do it, I most want to know how educated in marketing are they? Do they wear many hats? Is their title a marketing title? What's their past? I've met with more people than I can even count. And I've met with, small mom and pops where it's one person doing everything, and you have to really educate them on the strategies of marketing. And I've met with, marketing VPs and marketing directors from large companies that know their stuff. And it's important to know who your audience is going to be. That's going to save you a lot of fear and headache when you're sitting in front of somebody, because you'll get a sense of, what that person could bring back to you in terms of questions, or just in knowing what their subject matter expertise is. And pro tip, make sure you log out of your LinkedIn profile first. Way back in the day, I made that mistake, and I'm sure but if you don't, if you're logged into your LinkedIn profile and you're searching for someone, you land on their page, they'll be notified that you're looking at their LinkedIn profile. Not a bad thing. I prefer to just log out. I want to do all of my prep research behind the scenes. And then last, make sure you're putting all of this information, everything you're finding. Make sure you're creating cogent notes. Again, I've learned from experience. I once upon a time said, I can put all of my notes in the steel trap that is my brain. And I realized that I was letting things fall through the cracks. So at our agency, we use Microsoft 365. OneNote is a great tool to use to make sure that you have all of your notes available to you, no matter what device you're using. Okay. Number 2, evaluate and optimize your digital footprint. What does your digital footprint have to say about you as a digital marketer? And that's key. Are you using your social channels, for example, professionally? This is a part of your professional brand. And I'll guarantee you it's likely that you're going to be searched by the person you'll be meeting with. And if so, the ability for you to have a first impression in person is gone. The days of having first impressions in person is quickly going by the wayside because of our digital footprint out there. So, make sure that you update your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, create one. That is a common social channel that professionals will search for other professionals to see who they are. I mean, heck, tip number 1, I promoted doing that. Look at your social media objectively. Are you using your social for professional or personal, or maybe a little bit of both? I use mine for a little bit of both. My personal is usually pictures of my kids or pictures of things that we've made in the kitchen, and then geeking out on something as it relates to marketing from the professional side. So I have a lot of clients, past clients, hopefully future clients that are friends with me on my personal Facebook. It humanizes me. There is a strategy behind it, but it's also good to see what they're doing. So you can further connect with them on a human level to kind of blend the personal and professional together. If you find that your social channels aren't quite the brand that you want to put out there, make sure you check your privacy settings on your personal social accounts to really limit the amount of information that is exposed out there. If you're not using social media, you should. You should at least know. You should at least use it enough so you can understand the value of it. If you're going in front of a prospect and saying, we want to handle your social media management and ad buying, but you don't have a social account yourself, it's going to be hard for you to answer questions as you really start drilling down with that prospect. And then Google your name for any vulnerabilities. That's always a good thing. It could be that college photo. In fact, someone I used to work with got caught with that. It was a random college photo out there, nothing bad, but it was, hand standing on a keg, and it wasn't, he recognized it wasn't something he wanted out there on the World Wide Web. So recognizing that it's out there and it exists allowed him the ability to fix that issue. Okay, so check out what your digital footprint says about you. Okay. Tip number 3, understand your digital products and services, which again seems very obvious, but there's been quite a few people that I've talked to that are responsible for selling digital advertising, but they really struggle to explain what their product is and why it matters. And when I say product, it can be product or service, but you really need to understand what it is and why it matters. And that's kind of the controversial part. How much information is too much information to know, and when do you really start wading out into the swamp with too much information. Personally, I say try to understand at a minimum of what the product is and why it matters. So, take the time to learn your whole portfolio, and then take the time to understand what digital products marry well together. Search and social marries well. Search marketing and, targeted digital display marketing, they marry well. And learn how, extended digital products like search marketing, programmatic display, social ad buying, these extended digital products and services, how do they incorporate with your own owned and operated digital offerings as well as print? We're in the world where we need to understand holistic marketing and advertising, and print obviously has a power, and digital advertising complements print well. They complement each other well. So really understand what products marry well with other products. If your company has a sales deck, or if you have built out over time a sales deck, really learn the information on it to understand it. And what I mean by that is, take the time to really understand what is on that deck. That's what's going to be in front of your prospect if you choose to use that tool. And if you don't fully understand the information that's being displayed to you, it'll shut you down as a subject matter expert quickly. I am pitched to all the time by vendors, and sales decks are a common tool. And more times than not, I'll ask for clarification on what this piece means on that sales deck, and normally I get a response back with, what, that's a good question, I don't know, right? Which isn't a game killer, but it's also it's also kind of a point for them, right? So you need to blow them away with your subject matter expertise. So really know your sales decks inside and out. It's going to save you a headache when the questions start rolling in. Again, don't dive into the weeds of really understanding like the fine print behind digital. Those details are best suited for, you know, your digital fulfillment team. You know, you don't have to understand, you know, what bid ceilings are for, you know, Google ads, or, you know, what interest targeting is available through social media, or even, you know, really like what specific ad stacks are available within a given, you know, digital product or offering. You need to know what it is and why it matters, because that'll help you laymanize it to the prospect that you're speaking with, and really know what and how you plan to say, you know what, let me get back to you on that. It's common, you know, there'll be questions, especially from prospects who are more affluent in marketing. There'll be questions that will kind of dive down the rabbit hole that you may not know the answer to. And it's okay to say, you know, that's a great question, let me get back to you on that. But figure out how and when you want to say that. Use it judiciously, and use it when it really matters. But know when to say it, and then when it feels like you're saying it too much, right? And that's when you start pivoting to, you know, talking about setting up a meeting with your digital team, now that you have more information on the prospect. So just understand how you're going to navigate that world, because everyone, including myself, has been in it. So that'll save you some headache as well. Okay. Rolling right along, number 4, case studies. Have some case studies ready. You know, you need to show that your agency or digital team or whatever, your digital offerings, whatever that brand is, you need to show that it walks the walk. Again, you're not the only one pitching. You know, it's important to both you and your agency to demonstrate subject matter expertise in marketing, and you know, and case studies are a great way to do that. It's also a great way to present a holistic campaign that utilizes the full breadth of your marketing, which, you know, can be print, owned and operated digital with some extended digital overlaid in. You know, those type of campaigns are campaigns that convert. Okay, so case studies are a great way and a great visual tool to explain the theory behind holistic marketing campaigns and why they matter. So, you know, chat with your colleagues about their digital campaigns and see how their campaigns are doing for their clients. You know, you may be going into, you know, a fitness facility, knowing that social management is something that you're probably going to want to talk to them to. And you may have a colleague that's handling another fitness facility who is currently using social management through your company. You know, see what's working, see what's not. Use that as kind of a mental case study that you can interject into your conversation as you're talking to a prospect. Excuse me, get some single page PDFs and one sheet case studies, excuse me, ready for leave behind. So single page PDFs, one sheet case studies, you know, to leave behind for your prospect, gives them something to gnaw on. You know, you always worry about as a marketer pitching your ideas, you know, what are they going to think when I leave, as they're determining whether or not, you know, I even have a shot to get into the next round. Case studies are a great way. They're proof of concepts. They show that you know what you're doing. You know, make sure that the case studies are categorical as best as you can. You know, don't bring in a financial case study into a flower shop or vice versa. So really think about, if you don't have case studies, starting to build those out. And if you do have case studies but aren't using them, make sure that you are. Make sure that the case studies have easily, you know, digestible infographics. That's a great visual that prospects, especially those that aren't as affluent in marketing, can really digest to understand the information you're presenting to them. And then lastly, make sure the information is relatively current. 3 years or more is outdated now. the previous standard was 5 years. Excuse me, the world as it relates to digital moves way too fast. Think about what digital was 5 years ago compared to what it is now. Debatably, 2 years or more is outdated. But 3 years or more, definitely it's time to it's time to update your information. Okay. Excuse me. And last one, be ready to pitch if you need to. So prepare to pitch. And this could be in your first meeting. You know, the 3-step sale doesn't always apply. It's you know, the idea of the 3-step sale is dying off. You know, especially if you're pitching to marketing agencies. But you know, time is few and far between for even, you know, local and regional decision makers out there. I've seen it, and not in all cases, but in some. And if you find yourself in a situation where the decision maker says, "Okay, well, what do you got?" You know, you need to be prepared to confidently present a holistic marketing option that makes sense. And that's important. That makes sense for solving their needs. And if you remember, tip number 1 was start trying to understand what their needs are. Right? You're going to be going into your first meeting is going to be a needs assessment. So you're going to really learn from the prospect's view what their needs are, but you may find needs that they're not aware of. So you blend them together. But in understanding what you believe their needs may be or projecting what their needs or obstacles are, you can have an idea of what a potential plan could look like that would make sense. I have sat and I have foreleg called quite a few needs assessments where the opportunity arose, or really the need arose, where a pitch was needed, and the rep that I was working with came out with just very, you know, we can do search and we can do social, we can do, you know, we can do everything for you, and it didn't have any sense of strategy behind it. So that's where the making sense comes in. You want to solve their needs, and it's going to be rough, but you know, it takes some practice. But with some prep work in projecting what the client's objections are, that's why that's so important. That's why understanding what it is and why it matters of the products and services that you have are so important. It allows you to think on your feet without stumbling, you know, in front of the client. So, you know, simulate, role play. If you don't like the word role play, simulate, right? Simulate a needs assessment with a colleague. I used to hate doing it. I used to despise role playing, but then one day, I don't know what it was. I accepted the fact that there's nothing to be nervous about, and I thrive in it. So role playing and simulations are key. I am available to simulate a needs assessment with anyone that, you know, within our membership that's looking to prepare to pitch to a prospect. Again, identify what you think their obstacles are and prepare a possible campaign for it. You know, and have your leading questions ready, but be prepared to veer off course, right? Any needs assessment, you still want to control the meeting, right? That's the goal. You want to make sure that the prospect stays on track. So, you know, some leading questions are necessary, but no, you know, it's a slippery road that you're going to veer all over in the course of a needs assessment. But have your leading questions ready. And then lastly, and I would say debatably most importantly, practice being confident, not desperate. Here's what I mean, and I'm going to share a quick growth story with me. So I've been doing news media marketing since 2001. And when I started out of college, I started at the Carroll County Times. And even back then in 2001, I thought, like, man, people are going to pay $300 to run this ad. That seems like a lot. And when I would pitch that to a prospect, you saw it all over my face. You know, like I was grimacing on, like, you know, well, the cost for this ad is going to be $300, you know, and prospects can see that on your face. Now, being with MDDC ad services, we're working with clients that, are spending 30, 50, $100,000 in a campaign. And what I've learned to understand is the marketing money is out there if you can provide a value and solve problems for your clients. So be confident in that, and be confident in the rates that you're charging, and don't appear desperate. Appearing desperate is like a cancer, and it's going to spread to your prospect, and the whole prep work that you've done, the meeting that you've had is going to be completely derailed. So practice being confident. You'd be surprised at what they'll do for meetings that you have with prospects. Okay. So, at the end of the day, we're marketers, and our job's to create and execute cohesive and holistic marketing campaigns for our clients that will, as simple as this, communicate their product or service to a desired audience effectively and efficiently. That is our job. That's what we do. So understanding your clients' expectations, evaluating how realistic they are, and, adjusting to walk away from the meeting with an agreed upon set of realistic expectations are paramount. Over-promising and under-delivering simply doesn't work. That falls into the desperation. Doing anything to get the sale. Believe me, you're not setting yourself up for success. Your retention rate's going to be terrible. Make sure that your expectations are the expectations that you present and are agreed upon are realistic. And then after that, find new and creative ways to delight your client. Make sure you're following their social media. If you're not doing their social media management, or even if you are, follow their social media, subscribe to their newsletters, visit their location and find areas of weakness that you can present to them to optimize. And if you do that, you'll start finding yourself becoming a trusted advisor with your clients. And I think it's safe to say that's what we all want. We want to be considered as trusted advisors by our clients. Doesn't happen overnight. You have to earn your seat to the table. But I think if you go about digital advertising sales in this way, with these 5 tips that seem super obvious but often overlooked, I think you'll be amazed at the return on investment in time that you'll be seeing. Okay, so that was a metric ton of information, I think, in a really short amount of time, and I want to thank everyone for giving me the time to share, and I hope you find some of these tips insightful, and keep them in mind as you're preparing to meet for a client for the first time. So with that said, are there any questions? Let's see how many people are here.
Kevin, how do you kind of keep all of that in the moment? Because I'm just like, those tips are so useful, but the world goes very quickly sometimes. And, do you sort of having that arsenal of case studies and being able to spit it all out on a dime, how do you manage to kind of keep it all straight without getting jumbled up?
Yeah, so, from a standpoint of the different tools that you have available, use the technology that you have. Make sure that you're using, cloud drives. Like, again, we use Microsoft 365, as you know. So, OneDrive is a great resource to make sure that you have all of your case studies available to you. Make sure that you name and tag your case studies categorically so you can do quick searches to find what you need. And then really learn how to optimize. Like as I'm prepping for a prospect in a day or two, that I'm going to be meeting with in a day or two, that's what I'm thinking about as pretty much constantly on, visualizing how the meeting's going to go. What do I want to say? How do I want to say it to address, a specific obstacle that I may have found, on their website or on their social channels or maybe within their search campaign. I'm it's almost, it's like you're playing out the meeting with yourself. You simulate with colleagues. Um, but if you really think about, as you're driving to the meeting, think about the last step things on how you want to introduce yourself and how you want to, break the ice in a way that's comfortable but quick. And then how are you going to transition into, starting to have a business conversation? Always, think about it. Don't wait until the last minute. Have it stewing around in your mind on, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Okay, I've looked at their search, I've looked at their social, I've checked out their website, I've learned everything I can about them. Well, what story does it tell me, right?
Mhm.
In terms of what opportunities we could present to the client. A lot of it's just kind of being in your own mind and thinking about, it's I'm sure you can attest to. I'm sometimes, I can appear a bit flighty, but it's because I'm thinking about how I'm going to approach a meeting that I have upcoming. So I guess that's my best tip for that.
Great. Well, thank you. That does help. All right. Any other questions? Well, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and tips and tricks. I see your contact information is there. Kevin is such a great resource for MDDC members and for those people who want to place advertising or market their businesses. So thanks for sharing your expertise.
Yeah, speaking of that, real quick, here's my shameless solicitation. So again, we are a full service advertising agency, and we are based out of your press association. So our news media members that want to sell maybe extended digital, but don't have the ability to yet, reach out to us. We offer our services white label to our members at a pretty significant discount, actually. So, our goal at the MDDC is to provide as much value to our members as possible. So if you need it, we can help strategize it with you and scoop up some of that $92 billion that's being spent right now in 2022.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.